arrived in Los Angeles, it was 1992, and I knew no one. And because I came here to work in production, my first job was hawking Laserdiscs at the Virgin Megastore. Money was scarce, so I walked everywhere and accidentally lost 30 pounds. Eventually, I did score a PA job on Bakersfield PD and was finally able to afford a car and food. Then, in the winter of 1996, I landed as the second assistant to Judd Apatow on the film Cable Guy, and was busy with his shit chores like defleeing his cats, buying Chef Boyardee, or picking up Victoria's Secret Valentine's Day presents at the local mall. One day, while grabbing a gift for Leslie Mann, I passed a Gap display window and saw my lower gut jutting over the top of my jeans like a 40-year-old ex-cheerleader barfly and thought, that's not good. When my gyno appointment at the LA Free Clinic finally came around, I was back working as the production coordinator on the HBO cult sketch show, Mr. Show. Even though they needed me for important tasks like obtaining live chickens, I couldn't cancel. The nurse practitioner, Betty, who had examined me the year before, given me a clean bill of health, and shoved a pocket full of condoms at me, now scowled as she pushed on my belly. Something's definitely in there. It's big. You need an ultrasound. I just thought I was getting fat. Whatever that is not fat. Betty looked nervous, which made me nervous. Here's a woman at a free clinic in West Hollywood who, on an hourly basis, encounters a variety of mysteriously oozing genital sores. But yet, whatever was inside me was scaring her. Fuck. A week later, the scan showed a large mass living where my right ovary should be. Betty sent me next to the USC LA County Medical Women's and Children's Hospital. Since work was already annoyed with my woman issues, I headed to the hospital on a Saturday. An intern, Dr. Mark, called me in, and as we walked to the exam room, I inquired why he chose gynecology. I want to save women from dying of cancer like my mom. If he wasn't gay, I would have taken him right there in the exam room. Dr. Mark took a detailed medical history, including my sexual history. Being a comic, I wasn't embarrassed and had used my many hookup stories as punchlines. Though for effect, I did stretch the truth. Unfortunately, in real life, under pressure, I can't lie. So when Dr. Mark asked, do you know how many sexual partners you have? I blurted out, 28! To my surprise, Dr. Mark was impressed with my exactitude. On a roll, I added, and one girl, but that left a bad taste in my mouth. Dr. Mark smiled. No judgment here. Again, if I could, I would have taken him right then and there. Soon, Dr. Mark ran me through a barrage of tests. When I returned the next Monday for results, he met me at the door. We're going to oncology. Don't be scared. I thought, how could I be scared? I have no idea what oncology means. Once upstairs, Dr. Mark handed me off to Dr. Seth and reassured me he'd keep tabs on my progress. Dr. Seth wasted no time in telling me my blood contained high cancer marker levels with surgery a must. Only then did it dawn on me what oncology meant. Can't we wait a month, I begged? I'm in the middle of shooting a cult classic television show. Like an assistant principal at a junior high, he snarked back, no, you can't! A week later, I was admitted. In normal times, my mother Shirley would have been right by my side, but a year earlier, she was diagnosed with a form of MS that affected her brain. When I first heard, I insisted on coming home. She insisted I didn't. Her dreams of being a gym teacher were squashed when she got pregnant with me, and she wasn't about to have her daughter's dreams turned upside down too. So when her condition got really bad, my aunt graciously took her in, and I flew home 4 times a year to help. On many of my trips home, Shirley would have a moment of clarity and cry out, this sucks! It did suck losing my best friend this way. It especially sucked not to have the most important person in my life to help me through my lady parts growing things other than babies. After putting in 6 15-hour workdays the night before surgery, I picked up my dad at LAX. On the way to my apartment in West Hollywood, I warned my suburban football coach father to keep all homosexual-themed jokes to himself. He promised he'd be good, but I mentally planned for him getting us into a fight. After being admitted, a parade of interns visited, all discussing my uterus as if it wasn't attached to me. The final visitor, a 60-year-old blue-haired administrator named Helen, needed to verify my medical history. Before we started, she asked if my father should leave, and not thinking too clearly, I said no. So when she asked, "Have you ever had an abortion?" I broke out into a cold sweat. No. I peeked at my father. He was stoic, but I could tell inside he was saying, "Oh, thank God." Then, without warning, Helen hornswoggled me. You haven't had a lot of sexual partners, have you? I shot back, "No, I have." I gritted my teeth. She was supposed to ask for a number like Dr. Mark had. I spied my dad's reaction. Again, he was a statue. Before Helen closed the file, she asked, "Religious preference?" "None, I'm an atheist." Helen left. The room stood quiet until my dad turned to me and said, "You don't believe in God?" "Do you know how many people are praying for you right now?" "That's what you're complaining about?" I said. "I thought you were going to bust me on how many sexual partners I had." "No, that's your business." "And Yahweh isn't?" All my father did was shake his head. Dear old dad was disappointed that his daughter didn't worship at the altar of God, but he was just fine with her worshiping at the altar of many cocks. The next morning, as they wheeled me away, I could hear my dad cry. I gave the non-Grey's Anatomy surgical interns my camera to document whatever was inside me. They took exactly 2 pictures, one with my gut cut open, tumor inside, and the other, the tumor on a specimen pan next to a ruler, measuring 22 millimeters by 18 millimeters. Resembling an uncooked chicken, the tumor contained my right ovary, fallopian tube, and shitload of suspicious cells. When I woke up, I signed a piece of paper donating it to science. The next day, Dr. Seth informed me the tumor was a breath away from cancer. When Dad asked why I developed this thing, Dr. Seth had only theories, the weirdest being it was cells from my twin that never developed. Though his best guess was it was caused by stress. Damn you to hell, Judd Apatow! The recovery was hard, but having Dad all to myself for a week was amazing. For years, I had felt ignored by him and third on his list of important things behind golf and my stepmother. Feeling this way made me seek out boys who would just use me sexually and then ignore me. At times, after Dad went back to my apartment for the night, my head would fill with, if only you had spent this much alone time with me when I was 15, Dad, I might not have sucked so much dick. Before I was discharged, Dr. Mark showed up and indeed had kept track of my progress. He was certain I'd have no problems with conceiving a baby. My dad hugged him. After we left the hospital for LAX, Dad insisted on stopping at an LA restaurant he spied called Sizzler. As I sat there in a dress, underwearless, with 47 metal staples in my gut, I started to sob. Ignorance had kept me from feeling the full weight of what happened, and now with my only lucid parent leaving, I was a wreck. True to his football coach ways, Dad cut me a piece of steak and punched me in the arm. 2 years went by before I got the all clear. No cancer, no tumors, no nothing. Regrettably, I never saw Dr. Mark again. Though suspected whenever a patient couldn't recount the number of sexual partners they had, he thought of me. On my final exam, the last intern to examine me resembled the 80s comedian Jake Johansson. Afterwards, as I dressed, he gave me one last piece of advice. You should start thinking about having a baby soon. True to my nature, I lashed back. Yeah, I should start thinking about having a date first. You single? Intern Jake signed me out, shoved a pocket full of condoms at me, and wished me a good life.